Good morning. It is Sunday, December the 20th. A couple of things that stood out this past week that I spent some time thinking about. On Friday, I played handball, as I usually do on Friday, and again played the second best player in the state, world champion in doubles from the 45 to 49 division. And he beat me pretty easily the first game, and in the second game, I was playing very well, and he was not playing very well. And I was up at one point 17-5. And then he decided to play. Every now and then I will joke with him and I will ask him what my number is, and what I mean by that, he usually decides how many points I'm going to get before he starts to play. And he just kind of laughed. But anyway, he got me out. He went in to serve. I eventually lost the game 21-18, only scored one more point. And again, no big deal. I'm used to that. He's younger than I am. He's bigger than I am, stronger than I am, much better player than I am. But I always tell him thank you because I appreciate the fact that he will play handball with me even though he is so much better than I am. And that brought to mind a couple of scriptures. One of them is a proverb. And in Proverbs chapter 27, verse 17 says, "Iron sharpens iron, and one man sharpens another." And what I understand by that is, if you want to get better, play people that are better. If you want to get better at handball, play people who are better than you, because that'll make you try harder. That'll make you concentrate better. And it has. My game has improved greatly over the last several years, being able to play these individuals that are so much better than I am. And if you want to learn more about the Scriptures, yes, you could read the Scriptures and pray that God will give you knowledge and wisdom, and that's a great thing, and we ought to do that. But another thing that will help you is pick out somebody that you believe knows more about Scripture than you do, knows more about what the Scriptures mean, and how to put them into application in your life than you do, and call them up or text them and say, "Hey, can we get together once a week?" Or however often you want to get together, and talk about things. Find somebody that you respect and spend time with them. And you'll get better. Your knowledge of the Scriptures will grow. Your wisdom will become better and stronger. And you will become a better individual for it. Iron sharpens iron, and one man sharpens another. But another scripture that came to mind is Philippians. And specifically Philippians chapter 2, where Paul spends a great deal of time writing about the fact that Jesus humbled himself and thought that equality with God was not a thing to be grasped, was not a thing to be held onto at all costs, was not a thing to be exploited. But he was willing to give that up and humble himself and come to this earth in the form of a man. And then being found in the form of a man, he humbled himself even further by becoming a servant and then giving up his life so that mankind could be freed from their sins, and so that God could treat us as if we had never sinned. And I thought about humbleness, and I thought about the individuals that I play handball with that are much better than I am, and how they have humbled themselves to get on the court with me and to put up with me, in the sense that, yes, I am not as good as they are. And sometimes I do say to these individuals, how can this be any fun for you? Because you can beat me so easily. And they are very nice and they are very gracious, and they always say, well, they appreciate the fact that I will play handball with them. I'm the one that's grateful. I'm the one that they will humble themselves and get on the handball court with me. And again, this individual that I play typically 3 days a week, 2 to 3 games each time that we play. He can beat me, and he has beaten me on numerous occasions, 21-0. and not really try all that hard if he wanted to do that. But again, he'll typically pick out a number, 15 or 16 points before he starts playing, and then I might get one or two more. Sometimes I won't score anymore. But he humbles himself to play handball with me. God's Son did not think that equality with God was something to be held on to at all cost, but was willing to give that up, was willing to humble himself and become a man, and then become a servant, and then give up his life. And we need to think about that, not just this time of the year, but all the time. Another thing that I spent a great deal of time this past week thinking about was when Sandra Adams passed away, David called me. I think it was over the phone. It may have been in person. I really can't remember. But anyway, he asked me if I would do the eulogy, and I told him, of course, I would be honored to do that. And so a lot of my time this past week was putting together something that would be honorable and respectful, not only to Sandra, but to David and to Geraldine and the other members of the family and friends. And so the funeral was held on Thursday. And so as we finished the funeral there at the funeral home, we got into the procession, and we were escorted by at least 2, if not 3 individuals on motorcycles who blocked off every intersection. And so we proceeded to the cemetery, and one of the things that impressed me, and I had not seen it in a long, long time, was the vast majority of people who were coming toward us in the opposite direction pulled off the side of the road and stopped out of respect. Now, there probably wasn't an individual among them who knew who was going to be buried that day. They probably didn't even know what cemetery we were going to. But they pulled off the road and they stopped out of respect. That used to be very, very common. It's not very common nowadays. And especially in this time when we are so divided, when there is so much anger and so much hatred in the world. It's hard to find somebody that's grateful and that's respectful. And it was refreshing to me to notice these individuals pulling off the side of the road and stopping their car. I didn't see it, but later on, Debbie told me that there was an IPL crew. Now, I did see the crew and the truck stopped, but Debbie said they had their hard hats over their heart. Again, out of respect. And one of the passages of Scripture that I thought about was Paul writing to Titus. And in chapter 3, he tells Titus to remind the saints that we should show perfect courtesy to all. Another translation says, be considerate to all. Now, I'm sure some of those people who pulled off the road and stopped were busy. I'm sure some of them were probably running late, either taking their kids to school or to a doctor's appointment or to some meeting. I'm sure they all had things to do. And I'm sure some of them were running late. But the vast majority of them pulled off the side of the road and stopped their car as the funeral procession went by, out of respect. Out of respect for somebody that they didn't know. Because it was the respectful thing to do. It was the courteous thing to do. Just to stop for a few minutes out of their busy lives because somebody was grieving. A family had lost a loved one. Friends had lost a loved one. And they wanted to be respectful. And so as we approach the holidays and things that are going to get crazier, if that's even possible We're going to get busier, last minute shopping, late nights wrapping presents, running here and there, trying to get everything arranged, trying to get the table set perfectly and all the decorations up. It's sometimes we can get so harried and so frustrated that we lash out at our loved ones. Let's be respectful. Not only to our loved ones, but to everybody. Let's be courteous. Let's be considerate of all. Even those people that treat us badly. Especially, if you will, those people who treat us badly. Well, I pray you'll have a great week. I pray you'll have a Merry Christmas. Be safe. I know it's odd this year. There's probably not going to be as many people traveling as usual. You're probably not going to have as many people over to your house as you usually do. And that's fine. We'll get through this. God's in control no matter what happens. God's in control. And in the end, we will be okay. So let's be grateful. And let's be considerate. And let's be respectful. Have a great week.